Hello everyone, it's Teresa here from Lighting the Way, and I had to consider whether I would share this video or not because it's an unusual one, from me anyhow, but really I feel that it's important because we're all going to start witnessing these different timelines, and it's important that we just relax into them and connect in with our heart again and not be frightened in any way. So I'll have to back up a little bit, but yesterday basically I saw my dog in a different lifetime, in a different body, and it was during my daytime experiences. So this particular dog, we have two dogs and they're both, medium sized. Well, Pal's probably a little bit on the large side. So Pal is his name. He's a wide-haired German pointer, and he was my dad's dog. So we got him from my dad as a puppy, really. He was just getting too strong for Dad to manage, and my dad actually passed about a week after we got the dog. So Pal is with us, but when Pal was just a puppy, or like a real puppy, a couple of months old, I could see something in his eyes, and I said to Dad, if you're ever letting that dog go, I'd love to have him. So that's Pal. Then we have another dog called Neve. She's a half collie, half Springer, and she's 10, and Pal is 5 now. But John had taken them out for their normal walk and swim yesterday morning. And in the summertime, they always eat their food in the garden. And it's a good reason for that. Pal's pretty messy. He has a beard as well. But anyhow, I was making cacao at the cooker, like one does. And I was, sending all the love and all the intentions into the cacao. And I looked out the window and I saw this massive black dog eating out of Pal's dish. And Pal, if anybody knows him, isn't very sociable around dogs. We actually have to walk him where there's nobody else, out in the mud flaps and out into the fields and things. He's grand with people, but he's very protective and he doesn't particularly like other dogs. So I thought this black dog had come into our garden, that John had left the side gate open, and John was in the greenhouse, and I looked a second time and there was this massive, much bigger than Pal. I can't even explain it because I couldn't see the head because of where he was being fed. It was behind a raised bed, but I could see the body, and it was like bigger than a Labrador. It was like a dog I hadn't seen. The shape of the body, but that's the only way I could describe it. It was kind of similar to that of a Labrador, but bigger, much bigger, and jet black. And I could just see that it was moving its body where it was eating fast. And I went to the window and I shouted for John because I actually thought, that a dog could come in and that there would be like, a nasty scene in the back garden. And just as I got to the window and John came out of the greenhouse, I realised then, it turned back into Pal. And trying to explain that then, that, I saw a different dog. It was a huge black dog. It was eating Pal's food, but the dog was actually Pal. So I was a little overwhelmed by it. Now, in my healing capacity, and I close my eyes when I'm working with people, I see many things, and I actually do the quantum healing hypnosis technique, Dolores Cannon's one, so I'm used to being in other dimensions and seeing other things and understanding things differently. But this was like during the day when I felt I wasn't tuned in. Now I was tuned in, of course, to the cacao, just thanking, the earth, and thanking the lovely Mayan mothers and children that collect and do all the harvesting by hand and all of it. So I was connected to that and putting the intention of love into it. But like this image of Pal, wasn't just like a flash. I was able to look at it, I was able to walk towards the window, and I was still seeing it in that form as that dog. So I had to really, bring it into my heart. I said it to my daughter, and she said, was it a past life or was it a future life? And I don't actually know. I said, but I'll tune in tonight when I'm going to sleep and I'll ask. But I actually found out during the day. Yesterday I was looking at Pal, and Pal sings as well. give them some singing lessons. But anyhow, apart from all of that, it's just howling. But Pal does actually sing, and he holds notes, and he holds up his chin and moves his mouth, and there's a whole lot of things. And anyway, I was like singing with them in the sitting room, and I just got the information that Pal was my dog many times, and I did see him, but I didn't get the name of the, like, a breed. It was just a different dog, and it was a bigger dog, and it was like from an ancient time. But Pal was also another dog that I had called Cindy, and Cindy would be past 35 years now, but that's who I always felt Pal was. So it is the same dog, but the black one was the original incarnation of that dog. So I just thought it was fascinating. And the reason I'm sharing it, the main reason I'm sharing it, well, first I think it's fascinating, is that we are all going to start seeing a lot of things that are kind of out of our norm, what we've been trained to see as normal. And, you know, we hear all these things about it's all an illusion, and it's all this and it's all that. And like a lot of them are kind of true. Some of them maybe like used a little bit as a buzzword. But, you know, we are here and we do create our reality. And that is the truest thing to my heart that I can possibly say, is we do create our reality. And obviously collectively we also create. So we have the power within us to join with the collective to change the reality. And that's basically what's happening. But that was like a timeline. We would call it a timeline shift. We call it whatever. But to me, it was like a glimpse of another timeline. And that we are shown that we're on many dimensions at the same time. I don't want to get too complicated with this now, because even in my head, I feel I'm complicating things. It's just that we think we're just here on Earth in one body at one time, but we're actually everywhere at all times. I know that to be my truth. I really know that to be my truth. So I just thought it was an interesting story. Now, there was another thing, of course, that my mind started questioning. I don't want this video to be too long, but I think this is important as well, because our minds do kick in and we can question things. When I was a child, I always saw spirits and lots of bits and pieces. You know, I did close it down when I was a teenager because it was like I was the weirdo, but I did reopen it, obviously. I was in my 30s before I reopened it, and now I'm in my 60s. So I'm a long time still working now with the energies and gaining a deeper understanding, really, of how phenomenal we actually are, and how what we actually feel and believe to be true is true for us, and that will create our reality. But the story of a black dog when I was a child, my name is McAuliffe. So the Macs and the O's here in Ireland, anyway, this is how I learned it, and this has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. We used to say the banshee and, you know, the ghosts and the booties and all of that we could connect with them and we could see them and we could hear them. So they said they follow the Macs and the O's, was what I learned as a child. Now, a black dog used to follow the McAuliffes, and this was not actually a physical black dog, but it was like a shadow of a black dog, or just an image, I should say, because the word shadow is used differently now. An image of a black dog, a perception, but it didn't have any physicality, and that would follow you to keep you safe. And it was very often seen. I know my dad saw it many, many times, and there was a particular road close to our house where the black dog would join you on a particular part of the road and would go with you, and then it would just fade off at another part of the road. It's just bringing me to think, you know, I have so many stories that I could tell you of different experiences that I have had as a child as well, with spirit and with a lot of different things, what we would consider abnormal, I guess. multi-dimensional really. So we're coming into the multi-even dimensionality area of our lives now, and it's important that we just open up, stay grounded, stay anchored, and not get the head in the way. You know, not say, oh, it was only your imagination or whatever, because there is that temptation to do that. I saw my dog Pal as a different dog in a different time, in a different body, with these physical eyes yesterday morning about 10 o'clock through the window, and I even walked towards the window and I still saw him. It wasn't until John came out of the greenhouse that he turned back into the body that he's in now. Now, hope that didn't spook any of you, because it's the truth. God bless you. Have a lovely day.